The day my parents threw me out, it was raining. Not a gentle spring shower, but a heavy downpour that soaked through my clothes as I stood on the driveway, clutching my laptop bag while my father tossed a small suitcase of belongings at my feet. "Marcus needs the space for his home office," he shouted over the rain. "He's actually doing something with his life, unlike you and your stupid coding projects." Marcus, my older brother, the successful one. He had just landed a junior position at an investment bank, and suddenly my childhood bedroom wasn't mine anymore. Never mind that I had been quietly freelancing as a software developer for 2 years while taking online classes. In their eyes, I was just Emily, their 20-year-old disappointment who played with computers all day. "Dad, please, I tried one last time. I can pay rent. I'm making money with my work." "Money?" he scoffed. "Those little websites you build. Marcus makes more in a week than you do in a month. We need that room for someone who deserves it." Behind him, my mother stood in the doorway, arms crossed. She didn't say a word to defend me. She never did when it came to Marcus. "You have an hour to get your things and leave," Dad continued. "Anything left behind goes in the trash." I looked up at my window, my bedroom for 20 years, and saw Marcus already inside, measuring the walls for his precious office furniture. He caught my eye and smirked, giving a little wave with his expensive watch glinting on his wrist. An hour later, I sat in a 24-hour diner, my whole life reduced to a laptop bag and a suitcase. The waitress took one look at my dripping clothes and silently brought me a cup of hot coffee. I opened my laptop, the one possession I truly cared about, and started making plans. What my family never understood was that those little websites weren't just simple HTML pages. I had spent the last 2 years developing a revolutionary algorithm for predictive data analysis. Companies fed in their data, and my program could predict market trends with shocking accuracy. I had already caught the attention of several tech investors, but I kept quiet about it. Now I had nothing left to lose. I pulled up my email and found the message I'd been sitting on for weeks. It was from Viktor Petrov, a prominent venture capitalist who'd been trying to meet with me. "Dear Mr. Petrov," I typed, my fingers trembling slightly. "I'm ready to discuss your investment offer. When can we meet?" His response came within minutes despite the late hour. "Tomorrow. 9 a.m. My office." I used the last of my freelance savings to book a cheap hotel room for the night. As I lay in the narrow bed, listening to the rain continue its assault on the windows, I made myself a promise. One day they would regret throwing me away. The next morning I put on my one professional outfit, a simple black blazer and slacks, and headed to Victor's office. His secretary took one look at my slightly damp clothes and obviously budget attire but led me in without comment. Victor was nothing like I expected. No fancy suit or intimidating power stance. Just a man in his 50s wearing jeans and a sweater, typing away at multiple monitors. "So," he said without looking up, "you're the genius who created the Atlas prediction engine. I've been wondering when you'd finally reach out." I blinked. "How did you know it was called Atlas? I never mentioned that in our emails." He smiled, finally turning to face me. "As I've been testing it. Bought a subscription under a company name, fed it market data. The results were impressive. Very impressive." He pushed a folder across his desk. Inside was a contract offering $2 million in seed funding for 15% of my company. "But there's one condition," he added. "I don't invest in freelancers working from coffee shops. You need a real office, a team, and a proper corporate structure." I thought of Marcus in my old room setting up his proper office. Of my parents who thought success only came in certain packages. "When can we start?" Victor's resources and connections opened doors I hadn't even known existed. Within 6 months, Atlas Technologies had proper offices, a growing team, and clients including Fortune 500 companies. My algorithm was revolutionary in the field of predictive analytics, and the business world took notice. I worked 18-hour days, putting every ounce of energy into building something extraordinary. My small team grew to 20, then 50, then over 100. We expanded to 3 floors of a downtown office building. But I kept my name out of the press. In all company documents and public releases, I was simply E. Parker, CEO. No photos, no interviews. Let my work speak for itself. A year passed. Then Atlas Technologies grew beyond anything even Victor had predicted. Our market valuation hit $100 million, then $500 million. Large corporations began making acquisition offers, but I turned them all down. This was my company built from the ground up after being thrown out in the rain. I bought myself a penthouse apartment but kept it simple. No flashy cars or designer clothes. Every extra dollar went back into the company or into careful investments. One of those investments was in property, specifically foreclosed homes bought through a separate LLC. Then 3 years after that rainy night, I received an interesting email from my property management company. A house had gone into foreclosure. The address made me pause. 1447 Oak Street. My childhood home. I opened the attached documents. Apparently, my parents had taken out a second mortgage to fund Marcus's investment opportunities. But his sure-thing investments had failed spectacularly. Now the bank was foreclosing. For a moment I sat in my office staring at the familiar address. Through my floor-to-ceiling windows I could see the rain starting again, much like that night 5 years ago. I picked up my phone. "Sandra, contact our property acquisition team. There's a house I want them to buy." 2 weeks later, my parents received notice that their house had been purchased by Parker Properties LLC. They would need to meet with the new owner to discuss their options. They had no idea that the daughter they'd thrown out in the rain was now deciding their fate. The meeting was scheduled for a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I specifically chose a rainy day. Almost 5 years to the day since they'd thrown me out. I sat in my office watching the drops hit the windows, remembering how it felt to stand in that driveway with nowhere to go. Sandra, my executive assistant, knocked softly. "They're here, Ms. Parker." Waiting in the main conference room. I stood up, straightening my custom-tailored suit. No more budget blazers from department stores. "How do they look?" "Nervous. Your father's been pacing. Your brother came with them, he doesn't look well." Of course Marcus would be there. He probably thought he could charm or negotiate his way out of this situation. After all, he was the successful one. I took my time walking to the conference room, each click of my heels on the marble floor a reminder of how far I'd come. Through the glass walls I could see them. My father in his best suit, probably the same one from 5 years ago, my mother clutching her old designer handbag, a relic from better days, and Marcus, looking significantly less polished than the last time I'd seen him. I opened the door. "Mr. and Mrs. Parker?" "I'm Emily Parker, CEO of Atlas Technologies and owner of Parker Properties." The silence was absolute. My mother's handbag slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a dull thud. My father's face went from professional desperation to shocked recognition. Marcus just stared, his mouth hanging open. "Emily." My mother's voice was barely a whisper. "Please sit down." I gestured to the chairs. "We have a lot to discuss." They sat automatically, still staring at me like they were seeing a ghost. In a way, they were the ghost of the daughter they'd discarded. "Now then," I opened a leather portfolio. "Let's talk about your situation. Second mortgage defaulted, primary mortgage in arrears, and multiple failed investments have left you in quite a predicament." "Emily," my father started, "we can explain." "I'm not interested in explanations," I cut him off. "I'm interested in solutions. Currently, you owe $487,000 on a property valued at $375,000. Not a great position to be in." Marcus leaned forward, switching on his banker charm. "Listen, sis, maybe we can work something out. Family helping family." "Family." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Like when you measured my bedroom for your office before I was even out of the house. That kind of family." He sank back in his chair, charm evaporating. I pulled out more documents. "I've reviewed your financials. Dad's retirement savings depleted. Mom's inheritance gone. All invested in Marcus's sure things. How did those work out?" My brother's face reddened. "The market was unpredictable." "Really?" "Because my algorithm predicted every market shift you missed. Atlas Technologies has a 97% accuracy rate in market prediction. But then that's just my stupid coding project, isn't it, Dad?" My father couldn't meet my eyes. 5 years ago he'd thrown me out in the rain. Now he was sitting in my office needing my help. "You have 3 options," I continued. 1. Eviction proceedings begin immediately. You'll have 30 days to vacate. 2. You can rent the property at market rate, $3,500 per month, first and last month's rent required up front. Or 3. I let the pause hang in the air. 3. My mother asked weakly. I buy out your remaining mortgage, you sign over the deed, and I allow you to stay as tenants at a reduced rate. $2,000 per month, all maintenance included. You'd do that? Hope crept into my mother's voice. Under conditions. I pulled out another document. First, Marcus moves out. Immediately. Second, you acknowledge in writing that you have no claim to any of my current or future assets. And third. I smiled coldly. You convert my old bedroom back from an office into a proper guest room. I may need it when I visit to check on my property. Marcus shot to his feet. This is ridiculous. You're really going to hold a grudge over a bedroom? Sit down, I said quietly. He sat. This isn't about a bedroom. This is about choices and consequences. You chose to throw away your sister for a home office. Now that sister owns your home. I stood up, walking to the window. The rain was coming down harder now. You have 24 hours to decide. If you don't want any of these options, I'm sure the house will sell quickly once it's renovated. Silicon Valley has lots of young tech executives looking for nice suburban properties. Emily, please, my father's voice cracked. We're your parents. I turned back to face them. No, you were my parents. Then you decided Marcus deserved my room, my place in the family, your support. Now I'm just your landlord. I had no idea you'd become this. My mother gestured at the office, the view, my obvious success. That's exactly the problem. You never tried to know me. Too busy promoting Marcus's mediocre achievements to notice what I was building. I pressed a button on my desk. Sandra, please show them out. They have my email for their decision. As they stood to leave, looking shell-shocked, I added one final twist of the knife. Oh, and Marcus? Atlas Technologies is launching a new division. We're buying failed investment firms and turning them around. Your old company is on our list. Isn't it interesting how life works out? After they left, I stood at my window for a long time watching the rain. Sandra brought me a coffee and waited quietly. They'll take option 3, I said finally. They have nowhere else to go. And your brother? Last I heard, he's interviewing for entry-level positions. Turns out that fancy investment banking career isn't worth much when your track record is nothing but failures. They did take option 3. I had my lawyers draw up ironclad contracts, making it clear that this was business, not family reconciliation. Marcus moved into a small apartment across town. My parents became model tenants, paying rent on time, keeping the house in perfect condition. My old bedroom was converted back exactly as I specified. I never stayed there, but I liked knowing it was there waiting. A reminder of where I'd started and how far I'd come. Sometimes on rainy days I drive past the house. Not out of nostalgia, but to remind myself that success isn't just about making money. It's about proving wrong everyone who ever threw you away. Last month, Atlas Technologies went public. Our IPO was one of the biggest tech launches of the year. My net worth hit 10 figures. The business world finally got to put a face to E. Parker, and the story of the self-made tech CEO spread like wildfire. My parents sent a congratulations card. I had Sandra file it away with their rental agreement. After all, business is business. And I learned that lesson on a rainy night 5 years ago, standing in a driveway with nothing but a laptop and a dream. Now I own that driveway. And the house. And a company worth billions. Not bad for someone who just played with computers all day.